Starting on the astronomy title, dark matter is, this idea, this energy, this thing we can't measure, but affects every part of our cosmos, this invisible sort of energy fabric, whatever you want to call it. And I really liked that concept of taking that just to us on a smaller scale as people, as communities. To me, dark matter was a great way to, it was a great metaphor for that. It was like all these small things that you may think are unique to you are not, like this fabric of our community, our society, binding us together in this almost invisible web we can't see. There was a lot of darkness that was going on and is still going on, but it wasn't all like doom and gloom. It was more like using that unifying force to kind of instill hope really. And that's where the title comes from. Typically although I wouldn't say this album's completely all jazz, if you were doing a jazz record, you'd go find a studio, find your musicians, maybe write the music in advance and block out maybe 2 to 3 days. That's how it's always worked when I've played with people's albums or done other things of my own. It's good if you want that, but it can restrict you to a sound. And if you go to one studio, it's got one desk and it's got one set of preamps and certain amount of mics and, just a room. Every room has its vibe. So I wanted to go to places that kind of made me feel a bit uncomfortable and that I don't work in often, and have maybe desks, have mics, have engineers that I don't have a familiarity that will kind of push me in a different direction. So as a result, I would bring my hard drive to sessions that, I was working on with other people. And, sometimes I might be doing like a drum tracking for someone and then there'd be spare time and I'd track some drums and experiment with that. I wanted to keep the exploration open for as long as possible. So the songwriting process for this album was quite open. In other things I've done, I was very sort of maybe more traditional, and I might go to piano to write a song, or I might start in Logic or on a drum machine. But with this album, I didn't want to be in one particular studio. I didn't want to have one particular method to write. So as a result, a lot of it was me carrying around my hard drive to different people's, whether it's their small setup in their bedroom, whether it's a big studio, whether it's in a different country, whether it's like gathering field recordings on my phone. There was a lot of that. And for a long time, it was a very sort of experimental phase. I didn't have nobody knew I was working on this, not my manager, not my friends. Only when musicians would come in or I'd show up with my hard drive, they'd be like, well, what's this for? And I'd be like, oh, I'll show you later. I wanted to kind of really keep it to myself to kind of capture that joy of creating. You know what? I almost feel like starting it backwards would be quite interesting, to be honest. When we was in the mixing stage of this, I remember talking to my engineer, and he was like, what's really interesting is every track is so different, but they all fit sonically together. And if you do start that way, it kind of opens you up to be like, well, you have no idea where this journey is going to go, maybe, because it goes some places. Whereas maybe the first track, Stranger Than Fiction, kind of sets the tone of like, okay, this is a very mixed mash, genre-bending piece of work. If I had to pick a favourite, it would be Nomos Descent featuring Non Kupiri. I remember just listening, me and the engineer were just listening back to her vocals on loop for like an hour, just because it was like so beautiful. So it's like, I love all of the album, but I think that one I'm especially proud of from a technical point of view, and from a just, if I've had to pick one to really just listen to over and over again, it would be that one, To release it, and when it was finally out, is it's always a very interesting process for me, because there's something that I've been listening to on repeat, really making sure things are right in those final stages, from mixes to mastering. It's not that it's burdensome to have it, but it feels like, okay, I'm ready to let this go and kind of move on to another thing. And as a result, I haven't listened to it really since it's been out. And it's not that I don't like it, I'm not proud of it, but art can consume you until it's ready to be to be consumed by someone else. So it was a really nice, beautiful feeling, like letting people enjoy it and kind of getting it out of my system.